great. I like your guys' setup so thematic with your gaming chairs there.
That's right. That's right. We live in these things.
Hey, so congratulations on the film. Checked it out over the weekend. It's a whole lot of fun.
Thanks,
So tell us where you got the original idea to make a film like Max Reloaded and the Nether Blasters.
Yeah, dude.
Where
the journey begins.
Yeah, we met. We actually met over gaming on Facebook.
That's right.
So it was the love of games. We were both filmmakers. That was also a big part of that.
Yeah.
But the first thing we teamed up on was a little short film called Show No Mercy,
For the Phoenix Comic-Con.
Which was starring Martin Kove and Jesse Kove, his son, Karate Kid, Sweep the Leg Johnny.
Yeah.
And that was based in a arcade bar, so it still had like this cool retro feel. It's a ton of fun. It's very much like Max Road in the spirit of it.
Yeah.
And both of us have always wanted to make a movie, but it's like, which movie? That's a tall order. It's your first technically directorial debut on a feature film.
So our bright idea was to go soup over the top with a VFX intensive comedy.
We had kicked around a lot of ideas in the past, and nothing really, nothing landed, and it never really felt like it was us. And it was just, I think we finally came to realization that we need to make a movie that we want to watch.
Yeah.
Just a movie that we would want to see out there, right?
Yeah. So what are the things we're most into, and what shaped our journey, and how did we meet? And it came back to the world of gaming, which, we know intimately. It had done some documentary work surrounding game developers, and I think it was on a trip back from E3 or Indiecade or one of the big gaming conventions when we're on a road trip and you chat crazy ideas and throw stuff out there. Jeremy had seen an article on one of my favorite game franchises, the Doom franchise. The 2016 version had embedded like really cool iconography and just visuals into the waveforms of their songs.
They were like pentagram type things. Right?
Yeah, demonic, like scripture and crazy. Doom's all about slaying demons and stuff.
And I thought, like, going down a rabbit hole, like, what if in reality there was a malevolent being and they put that idea in those developers' heads? Those developers said, oh, let's do this cute Easter egg. And then when people listen to the song and they play the game, they actually were affected. Maybe that's why bad things happen today,
They
right?
get possessed.
It's just like a weird thought, like, huh. And so that was a big part of like the idea behind, well, okay, what's going to happen? What's the story, and what's the catalyst to the big negative, event in the film? And that was like that just kind of built upon itself. And we wanted to make a movie that as many people could enjoy while not excluding those people either. So if you're a kid who likes mobile games and esports, or if you're maybe the dad who grew up in 70s, 80s,
pumping quarters into the arcade machine.
So so hopefully we made a movie that enough people can watch together and really just enjoy. And we just wanted to make a popcorn movie that made you feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious, what video games you guys met with?
First, it was Rocket League. That's the one we were playing. And Halo and Metroid and
Overwatch,
and
we just started geeking out because the Arizona, the Phoenix film scene, it's a small pond. It's pretty tightly knit, but you don't know everybody. And we kept hearing, hey, you got to meet Jeremy, and Jeremy said, hey, you got to meet this dude Scott. You guys are a lot alike. You keep hearing that enough. You see him on, of course, social media. You see him post something rad about Rocket League, and you happen to be playing too. You're like, hey, dude, you into the Rocket League? We should play. And then you just start talking crap to each other.
Yeah.
And then you meet up for a beer actually at the arcade bar. And from then, man, we've been making films together.
That's interesting because all the games that you mentioned, none of them are fantasy MMOs.
So, I played World of Warcraft for 10 years. I played Shadowbane before that.
We had to put them into rehab.
Man, I played a majority of the MMOs out there. And in the beginning of the film, you see Max, they're playing a Warcraft-style game. So, that was a huge part of that,
Deep roots, yeah.
Leroy Jenkins reference. And,
as a gamer myself, I actually noticed the Leroy Jenkins reference because that's a classic reference that happened. I want to say happened over 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of the games that you actually put in like your 8-bit thing was reference to Paperboy and all this kind of stuff. Could you talk about all this nostalgia that you actually put into this movie?
Yeah, man, that was always the goal, was to cram as much of the stuff that we remembered and that influenced us as possible into this thing. So certainly you picked up on those. And we had, geez, taking it from the top, we had like a World of Warcraft homage. The kids, of course, in the gaming store, certainly in the background. Every one of the machines behind them at the counter, like down to the Atari Jaguar, which I had, which, for better and worse. We placed all those little icons throughout the scene there as personal Easter eggs we grew up with.
Dude, I was watching when the film Friday came out on VOD. I was like watching with a group of friends at my house, and I was sitting there. I was like, I could pause this movie every 15 seconds and tell you why we did that, what we were doing behind the scenes, the thought process. I mean,
there's tributes to Doom, to Golden Axe, to Mario, you name it. There's all the stuff we love most crammed in there somewhere. To your point,
it's a pretty simple storyline, but we wanted to make the experience very rich with. Every line in that film is crafted in something that we want you to know and experience, and maybe you would know that too. And that's
at the same time, if you're watching it with someone who's not a gamer, and
the jokes still land.
Yeah, we were conscious of that. We didn't want it to be so inside baseball that it would tune people out. We've heard a lot, which I think we succeeded. Hopefully, people are like, "I'm not a gamer," but I enjoyed that because I understood the stakes and I liked the characters, and they didn't need to be a gamer, which was cool too.
No, I think it's pretty cool that there must be hundreds of Easter eggs that you laid out
for
us. Yeah. Could you talk about recreating some of these video game sequences throughout the entire movie? Who did it and how did you guys pull it off?
Yeah, in the very beginning, so Terrasect Games was some developers we met while producing a documentary on game developers, right, independent. Yeah. And so we said, hey guys, we need a World of Warcraft style, game where they're just they're starting at this dungeon. They have one chance, and so it was interesting. I was a cinematographer for the film as well, so storyboarding digital sequence and taking liberties, because in a game you don't cross your arms and nod your head, and
characters don't talk.
But making a movie and when you don't see a chat bar, you don't see the kids talking. We wanted to reveal the kids, so putting their personality in the characters and kind of giving them a little more creative liberty.
It was like video game. It was animation through the software of video game developers.
Right. Yeah. And I think they used Unreal Engine, and we just got different assets and they built them out and they sculpted them and customized them a little bit. And we made that scene to kind of feel like a World of Warcraft scene.
Yeah.
And then moving on from there, the ColecoVision.
Yeah, so the ColecoVision game assets, that was cool, man. Again, the power of social media, never more prevalent than today with everything going on in the world. We were looking for a game for a while through Post, and I just stumbled through one of the retro gaming groups on this really cool team, and a gentleman who led the team that makes homebrew games for retro systems, from Coleco to Atari, but mostly Coleco.
Yeah.
And they had made a game called Deep Dungeon Adventure. And so I go into their little YouTube playthrough. I'm like, oh my God, like this is it.
Nether Dungeon.
This is it, man. Yeah. So we reach out through the chat and we just tell them what we're up to and who's involved, and they were so generous. That's one thing about this whole community, from the game developers at Terrasect to the guys over here through Pixel Boy and through the Coleco stuff. They jumped on it and they helped us out so much more than we could ever pay them for. And they literally reskinned and created custom sprites. And even did some of the
home screen.
They retrofit it to match the script, and it just turned out.
And
amazing.
So that game is actually playable, which is really cool on ColecoVision.
It's a playable game, and they're manufacturing a limited edition run of 50 cartridges.
So Nether Dungeon, the ColecoVision game, will actually exist in reality.
So if people
be careful if you play it.
Yeah, that's our fault. But yeah, man.
I love the fact that you brought in three kids. Could you talk about the 3 kids and whose game store did you actually use?
Dude, yeah, part of that, we loved Spielbergian films and films like Rad and The Last Starfighter, Goonies. It's
that era.
And I think there's a cool dynamic when there's a best friend, there's like the buddy thing, and then there's a romance. And so the 3, you got the trio bad guys, the trio of our good guys. It was just, I think it worked perfectly, and they were they had such good chemistry on set and on the screen.
And it was neat too, having the opportunity to go through the casting process with our star/producer, Greg Grumberg. He was out in LA and he teamed up with our casting director, Farrah West, and she has just such an awesome eye. we locked in a lot of the cast members that were like the Joe Reitmans and the Lynn Shays and the Kevin Smiths through our, you know, personal relationships, but also reaching out through Greg. But when it came to casting for the kids, we wanted some fresh faces that had their chops, but were, you know, not as well established yet. And man, after this movie, if people don't see them take off like a rocket ship, I mean, they're just amazing. It's amazing. Their casting tapes were, we knew instantly, you're Tom, you know, you're Max, you know, you're Reggie, you're Liz. It just shined.
And then Fallout Games, the store, is an actual, it's an independent franchise here in Phoenix. So those stores exist.
Yeah, true.
They're gracious enough to let us shoot overnight, 5 or 6 days in there.
Yeah, diehard indie gaming franchise.
Wow. I know that this film is like a true indie film. So when you brought in the big guns, you know, like Kevin Smith, Lynn Shay, Martin Cove, you know, Joseph Reitman. I mean, that you guys must have been, you know, in cloud nine for something like that.
Oh yeah,
ecstatic, brother, ecstatic. It's really like, you hear it all the time, but it was a dream come true. You know, I grew up myself and Jeremy watching Kevin Smith films, and definitely with him being like our indie god, like getting a chance to work with him as an actor, not something he does often, was amazing. Yeah. And Lynn Shay,
dude, seeing her in films like, you know, Kingpin, Something About Mary,
and Something About Mary,
and Greg and Heroes, and I mean, Star Trek, Star Wars, is so cool. Like to be, it's so surreal. It's like these people are part of our universe now. Like
they are. And you know, the coolest thing I think for us, we talked about this, was being on set with them. They're artists. They're true blue artists who just love the craft, and to hear from them going from those major Hollywood productions where their craft services, the food they have on set probably costs 10 times our budget, to hear them go, man, this feels like when I got started, like there's so much freedom. We get to do a little bit of ad lib, and you guys have so many crazy ideas that you're not afraid to say no to, and let's try it. That was neat to see them play like kids again. We made this movie for the kids that we used to be when we were 12, you know?
Now you also kept some things in the family. You brought in Jesse Cove, which is Martin's son. Yeah. You brought in Jake Grunberg, who's Greg's son. Could you talk about bringing their kids into a project like this?
Yeah, man. How special was that? I mean, Marty and Jesse, we love them to death. You know, we worked on a film with them, and they're just each of them individually are just some of our favorite people. Yeah. And so it was just like, it was guaranteed that we would work with them again. And they brought so much heart and so much soul and funny and humor to this film. Yeah. And then Greg.
Dude, Greg Grunberg and Jake Grunberg, having them in this film together was awesome. And I remember we were talking with Greg, because he helped out with the casting process. He's like, I think I got a guy who would be good for young Eugene, my character, Young.
We didn't even know that he had,
that Jake acted. Yeah. And so we're like, well, who is it? He's like, my son, Jake. He sends us a picture of them two together making the same face, and I'm like, done, man, amazing. And Jake came on board and just killed it, and had fun kind of clowning on Dad, playing a younger version of him in film.
And how cool is that, to have your kid play the younger version of you? So that was really special for us.
Yeah, it was neat.
I'm curious, with all the video game props that you had to make for this movie, where are they now?
Dude, that's
so we got two of the blasters right here. This is Eugene's blaster, and that's Max's blaster. So they're all in studio. We've got the sword and the power glove that Liz had. Incredible. Yeah, super fun. And like you just saw, when they fire, they have a light emitting from them. So.
Yeah, man. And then those are all retrofitted relics from our childhood, too, that we had an amazing prop master, our buddy Shane, make fully functional for us. So we got a glass case we're preparing in the studio right now to kind of enshrine them.
Excellent. Well, let me start wrapping things up with you guys. Are you guys planning, it's a silly question to ask, especially times like this, but we have to ask it. Are you planning more projects? How are you staying creative in times like this today?
Definitely, man. We have a company day to day that we're filmmakers, photographers, marketers. So that's a huge fills a lot of creative need.
Keeps us not from getting rusty.
Yeah, and through that we do a lot of short form content where we're doing kind of proof of abilities, proof of concepts, testing the waters, definitely upping the game a lot. One of which will be dropping in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
But so we're always kicking around the next idea, but. For us, it's got to be really special. We don't really jump into something unless we're fully invested. I mean, it takes a lot of time. And so we're navigating which of the ideas is really the one to land next.
Small stack of scripts sitting over there, and we're excited, but it's got to be the right one.
Excellent. One last thing. What's the chances of a sequel to this film?
How successful and how many people purchased this movie?
It relies on the community, man.
Honestly,
it really does. If you guys love it, we will be inclined to, make another one for
the
you.
joke on set before we even finished filming was the sequel would be called Max Reloaded, Another One. So it's we'll see. I mean, it would be a super fun.
Oh, yeah,
there was a lot of fun ideas kicked around on it's how many times have you seen that movie and it was amazing, and then part 2 came out and you were like, huh, okay, well, there's that. And we never want. I would rather Max stand alone and just be awesome than not do it justice with the right. So it would have to be the right.
Have to be the right time, right script, and I mean getting this team back together again in this cast. They'd have to be everyone on board. So
but it would be fun. It would be a lot of fun. We've got some really fun ideas on how that would. And maybe it's some short form content. I don't know. Well, it's the digital era is changing weekly on how we consume content. And
sky's the limit, man.
Maybe it's an episode. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. This is a film that if you're a true gamer, you could watch this over and over again, or at least play it in the background while you're twitching or something like that.
Totally.
But I do really appreciate it. Hopefully, like in a sequel, the kids get transported into the Nether world, sort of like a Tron-like state. That would be awesome.
I like it.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah! Thank you so much, man.
So, anyways, hey, thank you very much, guys. Hey, I'm glad you made this film, and congratulations.
Thanks so much for your time,
brother. Appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. Bye now.
Yep. See ya.